Anthony Mackie says we are lying to our kids. Success is given, not earned. Here it is.
I've been in the business 24 years, right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that and this is fresh on my heart. Like, I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster, but somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off.
Put it up full mass. Let us discuss. Captain America star Anthony Mackie went on the Pivot podcast this week, and his comments about achieving success has gone viral, with many online arguing that he has a strong point, and I concur. In the field that Mackie works in, the movie industry is notorious for paying people of color much less than their white counterparts. Inequality stemming from racism is deeply rooted in the entertainment industry. In 2018, Chadwick Boseman starred in Marvel's Black Panther. He was paid $2 million for a starring role. However, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans made over $20 million for their roles. And we all know how big Black Panther was, right? We've had multiple actors and actresses on this program, on Indisputable, talking about the same thing, the inequity of pay, and how the inequity of pay goes beyond just television. It goes into all permeations of entertainment. And I know that Sharon could talk about this as well because she's in that industry too. National Partnership research shows that Black actresses typically make just 64 cents on every dollar white non-Hispanic actors make. Black women directors and producers make just 68 cents compared to their white non-Hispanic men counterparts. Even though these gaps are within an occupation, they are nearly as large as the overall gaps for Black women. So let's go to other fields. Let's contextualize it in a different way. Over nearly the past decade, Black women have been overachieving in the classrooms, according to a report by the National Center of Education Statistics that was released in 2020. The most recent year, the data was made available. While education may be soaring to new heights for Black women across the United States, pay disparities continue to haunt the community and even those with the most impressive qualifications. On average, Black women earn roughly 38% less than white men every single year. Young Black college graduates have higher incomes, but much greater debt than white households without a high school diploma, making their debt to income ratios higher and creating an additional barrier to qualifying for a mortgage. Young Black college graduates have a lower FICO score and young white households without a high school diploma. Lower credit scores are a disadvantage when applying for a mortgage. And we've talked about it on the show before that debt, college debt in particular, is the number one deterrent in a young, with a young family when it comes to getting a mortgage. There's more. Black women are more likely to be employed in sectors such as healthcare, education, hospitality, all of which often pay lower in terms of wages. Even those who are working in high-paying fields as physicians and surgeons still feel the unfortunate burn of pay inequality, making 54 cents for every dollar paid to their white, non-Hispanic male counterparts. Despite having some of the highest labor force rates, overall, Black women earn just 64 cents for every $1 earned by white, non-Hispanic men based on the data we have from 2020. 2020. So let's talk directly to the comment of our dear brother. He's correct. He's correct. The gist of it is right. Now, are there nuances to that? Of course. I mean, he works hard and he's successful. But the point, the overall point, is not to be judged in the microcosm of his singular career, but he's looking at it through the context of the macrocosm of the overall industry or industries being analyzed. And when you look at it from the perspective of the overall, you see the disparities are extreme in every industry, regardless of it being in Hollywood or not. And when you look at it from that lens, obviously there's a disconnect, a significant disconnect, because how we value each other, the bias that we have, that we hold inside of us, it permeates not only in the culture, but also in the workplace. And many of these biases can be hyper-aggressive or they're innate to where you barely see it, but you're doing it. And it requires having an open mind to understand it. But if you choose to be stubborn about the whole thing and ignore the agenda of equity, which we have a current administration doing today, literally fighting against it, these disparities, they don't stay the same. They get much worse. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
And it often requires a deprogramming of the American people who believe that when Blacks are in certain positions, for example, it's charity. Wakanda forever, hugely successful beyond our borders. It's not true that these films and entertainment projects and the like aren't overperforming based on their budgets. I mean, they're blockbusters, bonanzas. So you have to deprogram the way all of us have been taught, not just white folks, but Blacks who also believe that, well, we've got to scale it to what the audience is willing to tolerate when it comes to people of color. It's a fascinating thing, but we're more than pulling our weight and contributing to this incredible economy, even by today's standards.
Yeah, and Sharon, a personal story. I remember back when that first Wakanda came out, and I was given the task of working with Big Tigger. We did the red carpet premiere in Atlanta together. And I didn't know how big the movie would be. Nobody knew how big the movie would be. This is like the opening, all right? So we're given this African garb. It was, very theatrical. We were walking down the aisle with rose petals being put. I mean, it was really over the top. And this is how they decided to do the premiere. And usually, because we've done so many of these, I'm doing a morning show. I'm not trying to stay out too late at a movie. We'll leave at about the midway through the movie. We'll just go ahead and go home. But this movie was so amazing that not only did we stay for the entire movie, we literally had a conversation inside of the movie theater about Black excellence and Black futurism. I mean, it became this thing that organically took off, and that contributed to the success of the movie. It was more like a movement rather than just a movie, and the money was there. Given what because you have done a lot of like really major shows in your acting career, and I know the people inside of this industry. Is it getting better at all for Black women inside of this industry, or even Black men in general, when it comes to Hollywood and pay equity?
Well, I don't know that it's getting better in that sense, but I do believe it's getting better in another. They're making their own projects. You got to take advantage of sometimes what's looked at as an industry decline and, AI strikes, whatever it is. We have learned that we are a commodity and it's hot. Look at somebody like Will Packer, Tyler Perry. Their whole business model is built on the success and the loyal following that they have. So more and more creators are saying, you know what? Why can't I pitch it myself? If I want a great role, I'll write it and put myself in it. Nothing wrong with that. White artists have been doing that forever.
That reminds me of something Tyler Perry said. He said, instead of me trying to get a seat at their table, I'm going to make my own table.